I never know when we're actually live.
I don't either.
I feel like I'm a newscaster who's like waiting, like at three, two, one, but there's no one queuing us.
Well, that
Shawnee,
was it. You're good.
now we're on.
Yeah, we're on. It's one of those things where you always also have to be careful, Tara, right? Because it's like, gosh, are we on or not on? But we're on. And Tara, it's so good to be here. Where are you
You
today?
you see the wind blowing my hair
I know.
and the palm trees in the back, and way off in the distance is the blue of the ocean, the beautiful
I
Sea
can
of Cortez.
smell it, I think.
Yeah. I'm in La Paz, Baja, California Sur, Mexico.
Awesome.
This is where it all started 16 years ago in this place. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
it is. It's awesome.
Yeah, so 16 years I've been taking groups to La Paz, Mexico, and um, this is our annual like spring break for the women's trip because we do trips here in the spring and the summer, and each one has a different experience just because of the animal trifectas that come here at this time.
You know what? We were going to jump in here in a minute. I love that you're live. I think we've been talking about this for at least 6 months to a year. Like, let's make sure we do one where we're live and we're really live on location, not
On
live just on
location, live
Facebook,
on location.
on
Yeah,
location.
yeah.
But I think, we're going to jump in here in a few minutes and talk a little bit about a question that we get all the time. How do you come up with the ideas of the locations, the destinations, and how do you design the experience? But I got to tell you, before you go anywhere, I think I forgot until this minute again. This is the beginning. This location is the beginning. I think it would be so awesome, even if just a couple of minutes, if you're up for it, to tell those that are listening to us right now what the beginning was, Tara, and what that looked like.
What the beginning, like what the very
Yeah.
very first
Yeah.
story looked like. Um, I tell you, I didn't think I was
Students,
gonna.
it was a student tour,
It
right?
was a student
Yeah,
tour.
yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
didn't think I would be here. I was planning on going to Alaska and Oaxaca, Mexico, were my very first two destinations. And the stars aligned for me to come to La Paz through another uh, another organization that I had a connection with. And I remember thinking, because at the time I was living in Las Vegas, and the thought, like Las Vegas is a desert, right? So the thought of like camping in the desert, I was like, why would anybody do that? Okay. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, I come to La Paz and I go out to Espiritu Santo Island. I camp on this beautiful desert island right next to the ocean. And the ocean here, well, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And I fell in love with being able to get up close with big animals. So like the sea lions, whale sharks, gray whales. Like it was this is a place that has a lot of like ability for adventure. And Jacques Cousteau called it the world's aquarium. And it truly is that. It's one of the most diverse marine habitats in the world, right here in our own backyard. So, how did I find this trip? It was actually by accident, but I fell in love with it right away. And I knew that I had to bring people here. And it's funny, I was coming in at the airport yesterday because we fly to Los Cabos and then drive up here to La Paz. And when I started taking groups here in 2009, it was me and one other taxi driver standing outside waiting for, and my guide waiting for people to come out of the airport. Now it's so busy. Like it's really, really popular. But what's lovely though is that still, even as popular as Baja Sur is getting. Most people go to Cabo San Lucas. A very less people come up here to La Paz. So La Paz still has this like uh it's like cosmopolitan, low key, nature lovers, adventure lovers paradise. And this is the gateway to the Sea of Cortez, which is that blue water back there, the Sea of Cortez. And then right outside of there is the Espiritu Santo Island, a World Heritage Site and marine preserve. So, yeah, that's it started with a student group, and then in January of I'm sorry, April of 2009, and then I started working with Becoming an Outdoors Woman organization. They contacted me and they're like, "Would you like to do bow in Baja?" And I said, "Yes." So April of 2010, we took our first group of women here, and they're like, "Where are we going next?" So that's why we have 13 destinations, because that small group of women who are it said, "Where are we going next, Tara?" And I said, "I've got some ideas."
Yeah. Well, that actually is going to feed into, I think, that
Yeah.
point a little bit later, how we talk about designing the experience as well, too. So thank you for doing that. Again, this is almost like it's fun to be here with you live today because this goes back to the beginning where you're at right now. And I
Yes.
think one of the things you made me think of is landing in one of these locations. I mean, myself included, wherever the destination or location is, it might still feel like, it's evolving and it's busy over time, but where we end up going, and we'll probably talk about this either today or maybe even, in the future, it never feels like that busyness of insert whatever city, if it's Peru or Reykjavik or whatever, we go off into, a bit of the wild and the road less traveled, which
That
I
is,
think
I'm
is
so glad you brought that up because that's the idea. It's like we go to, it's the, the, I guess the tourism, when you promote tourism, the goal of promoting tourism is to bring people there, right? But there's lots of people starting to bring people places. So every year we have to find new ways to modify our tours so we're getting people to the popular places, but we're also showing them the hidden gems or unique experiences with, but whether it be a special guide in that place or a hidden natural site or maybe a unique experience that you just can't Google. So our job is constantly evolving. And I love people are like, are you going to run this trip next year? I always hope that we're going to run a trip next year, but I can't guarantee it's going to look exactly like the one I have on the itinerary. But that's okay. Things change and there's everything happens for a reason. But this isn't like booking when you do a tour like this, like what Green Adventures offers, it's not like you just book a hotel experience, right? And you can guarantee that it's going to be the same way over and over again. These are evolving adventures with lots of moving parts and different people who help make those experiences and animals make that experience like unbelievable.
that's why it's an adventure.
That's why
And
it's an
that's why
adventure.
we talk about it as well too, just the continue to be flexible, but
Yep.
the surprises that we get, and then some of the continuity, the same, some of the stuff is the same. But I'm glad you mentioned that. Again, I was just thinking, landing in Lima, Peru. I said Peru, but landing in Lima, it's busy, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
many of the cities, are like that as well. But it isn't crazy for long when we move off into our destinations. So thank you for sharing that. Do you want to provide a few updates before we jump back maybe into a topic? What's going on at Green Adventures at a high level, tours that are confirmed?
Yeah. What's going on at Green Ventures? Okay. So there's so many great things happening. I'm really thrilled that all of our summer tours are confirmed. And so all you have to do now is just go to the website. They've reached critical mass, meaning we've reached a minimum number of participants, and everything's just waiting for you. And a lot of our trips have anywhere from 2 to 5 spots available. Depends on which one it is that you're interested in. And one that I think it doesn't really get a lot of love, to be honest, like because maybe not love, it's overlooked, and it's a really, really amazing tour is the Idaho Main Salmon River rafting experience. That trip was born from the COVID era when we couldn't go anywhere. And I started to look within the United States. I'm like, what do we have here that we could celebrate? And, the natural spaces and beauty here right in the United States. And I like this is one of those tours. You're like, how do you find these trips? This one, uh, uh, it's there was a graduate student who was looking for another women-owned company to do like he was doing a his dissertation or something on women-owned travel companies, and he was doing his research in partnership with a woman whose dad started a rafting company in Idaho. And when he started asking me all these questions, I'm like, you know what? Can you give me her name? Because I may one day want to do a rafting trip. So 3 years later, I'm like, where is that rafting trip? So I was going
Yeah.
through my files, and that's how we ended up doing this. And it was another one of those like we called it like a constellation, because we can't go anywhere. Let's just go here. It wasn't a let's just go here. That was it's such a special experience to raft 80 miles through pristine wilderness in Idaho, in through Idaho, and to camp on these beautiful sand beaches with star like lots of stars, and you wake up in the morning, the smell of pine in the air, and just you go to sleep all night to the sound of the river just like going over rocks. like the way that sounds, like the rocks clanking
Yeah.
underneath because the river's going over it. And then also looking at this crystal clear water and seeing like rainbow colored rocks underneath. You see the bighorn sheep in the mountains, and I mean, and just the laughter and talking and connection you have on these boats that you're going through. And it's designed for beginners. You don't have to have any rafting experience. You sit on oar boats that are like manned or womaned. They have women rowers and men. They're rowing these boats, and you sit on the front and you go through the rapids. But if you want a chance to row, you can get in these inflatable kayaks and go in line with the rafts, and you can paddle yourself through rapids on the river. And they stop at these homesteads. Like a lot of the history of the river are the women pioneers who moved there and started their lives like with their husbands, and their husbands died, and then they just like lived, like they lived on the land themselves. And so we stop and we learn about these women pioneers throughout the whole throughout the journey. And I mean, it's historical, it's connecting with nature, but also it's like disconnecting. You cannot get a cell signal out there. It is you're disconnecting with the world and reconnecting with yourself, and at a pace that just I think we all need right now.
So it's interesting because for me, as you described that, I could hear, I haven't been on this one. So this is still on my list as well too, but I can hear it, I can smell it, I can feel it. I've got images, some of my favorite Green Adventures photos that have come off of that trip where the group is in the boat and their faces are just full, the biggest smiles, wide
Yeah.
open smiles, right? And just excitement that I think I've ever seen. So and you bring this one up because it's incredibly special, but this one has it been confirmed as well too, meaning
Yes,
we've
it's
got
confirmed.
critical
Yes,
mass.
so
Yeah.
it hasn't been announced yet, but it is confirmed. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we are working. I would like to officially announce breaking news.
Here we go.
Yeah, Idaho is confirmed. And
Yeah.
so this trip, you start in Boise. We all meet up in Boise. There's a hotel near the airport, and Lori Anderson is a trip leader. She's fabulous host. Everybody knows she's like
She
the
is.
ambassador of Green Adventures. She goes everywhere. And we should actually change our logo to Lori's face. It would be funny if it was like oh my gosh, Shauna, that's an amazing parody for April Fools. We should have Lori's like something with a face and a red hair. That'd be awesome. And a game of like some game cards in her hand because she is the queen of games. But anyway, I digress. So we meet in Boise, and then we take a scenic flight over wilderness in Idaho. So it's a little small plane, like 6 to 10 people in the plane, and you get to see this beautiful landscape. Then you land in Salmon, and then we have our meeting in Salmon, Idaho. So now you're experiencing like these little mountain towns, and then we go from there. We get on the river and we go down to McCall. We get out at McCall and we spend last night in at that little mountain town too.
Super exciting.
Yeah. So I
So
wish I was
summer
going on.
summer
I wish I could go on
tours.
all my
Yeah.
tours. I
You wish
just got to a point
you don't have enough
I
time. You
don't have
get
enough
too many now.
time.
It's really
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. And just to remind everybody who's joining us as well too. Now, when we say that a tour is confirmed, that means it has enough, the critical mass, right? The tour is going and is 100% live, right?
Yes.
And I'll plug another one, Peru, even though that's not a summer tour. I think we've confirmed Peru
Yes.
officially, which is a September tour,
Mhm.
just this past week as well. But there's still spots there as well.
Yeah, and Peru, that one, what really is
Yeah.
beautiful about that trip, in my point of view,
Mm,
is our guides are so special. Like Guido and
yeah.
Americo, they really, you want to feel like somebody cares about you on a tour. That's what I like to, I want our guides to feel like, our guides, I want our clients to feel like they're cared about. Can you hear that?
No,
Okay, all of
what
a
is
sudden
it?
there's like drilling going on behind me.
I was hoping you were going to say, I don't know, it was like seagulls or something, but no,
No,
I can't
no,
hear
it's
it.
like it's the best laid. You make the plans, you're like, wow, it's so quiet here, and then all of a sudden, like it is
Can't
Mexico.
hear
All of a sudden,
it.
they'll be drilling. But anyway, so they really care about you, but they tell the story of the land, but it's their culture too that that they're sharing, and you could feel the love when like Guido's talking about Pachamama or Ausengate or the story about the Incas or just any history, right? And that's when you are booking a tour on your own and you don't really know who you're going to get as a guide, that's an unknown. And when you come with like an organized group like Green Adventures, we've already got the guides. We love them. And if we've been using them more than 1 year. We love them. We love them a lot, right? So especially group like here in Baja, I've been working with our partners here for 16 years. We're like family. So when you come on tours, you're meeting our friends. And that makes the trip more special in that sense too.
Yeah. So Peru, I wasn't going to go down that path. I love that you said it. Peru is a tour that I lead that I absolutely love, and I won't go into it. It probably is. It could even be a session on its own. But I'm super excited that we're going live. The guides make all the difference. And I was just kind of thinking about, and I want to maybe pause on this one unless we have time here too. But it's one of those tours that when people ask and they ask me, I'm thinking about this tour, I'm thinking about this, and we'll probably talk more about that. But it's like what, that one alone is an incredibly spiritual journey. And you and I've talked about this. We've been there together. A couple times or at least one time, I can't remember.
One time.
But maybe if I go back in time, and maybe this is actually a good segue to one of the topics that we wanted to continue to dive into is how you choose these locations. You've started to do it. I'll never forget having the conversation about Idaho, right? Right. I remember where I was sitting when you and I were talking about it. And it might even have been pre-Idaho, but it was reinvention time or reimagination time, right? At
Yeah.
COVID. And right. So that's a piece of like, how do the ideas come and where do they come? But Peru, I remember having conversations with you as well too, and saying, and I don't think we're anywhere near that now. I've asked the Peruvians as well, but I was concerned myself. It was a bucket list item for me. And I was concerned, like, would there be a day where we wouldn't be able to go and hike and see Machu Picchu because they were going to maybe, tourists were not going to be able to do it. But this is where I was like, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
But let's go back and I don't know if there's any other thoughts that you'd want to share with people. You and I are dreaming all the time.
Yeah.
You're dreaming all the time. But I'll never forget sitting on an airplane after you and I ran a marathon in Key West. We
It
were
was
off to
not the
Cuba.
airplane. We were off to
Where
Cuba,
were
but
we?
you have two really great stories you've mashed together. So that's great. The first one is we had run that half marathon in Key
Right,
West,
in Key
and we're
West.
sitting at the bar afterwards looking for other run places to go. And I was going through my phone. I was like, let's go to Uganda. There's a
And
race
I
in
know that's where I
Uganda.
was going. And I was
Yes,
like, no, I'm not going to Uganda because I don't know about the water there.
exactly.
Then we went down a completely different path.
But
Maybe, do you
before
want to talk about that
well,
one?
but before that, before we did Key West, I get a text message from you that said, because we'd already booked to go run the half marathon in Key West. I get a text message. This is in 2017. Okay.
Yeah.
And we ran the race in 18. How about we're in Key West? Let's go to Cuba. You're like, okay.
Why not?
Yeah. So then we went to Cuba. But in that same, that same thread, what's funny about the Uganda one is that a week later, just a few days later, my friend Jill wrote me, and she's somebody who puts
Yeah.
people like me in touch with partners like my friend Paul in Uganda. And she's like, Tara, what are you doing in April? Now, we had just talked about this. I was still in Florida with you, right? She's like, oh, what are you doing in April? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, do you want to go to Uganda? That stuff happens to me all the time. Like,
Yeah.
this is why I firmly believe that the universe is working with us. Like, we want something, we don't know exactly how we're going to get there, or how we're going to do it, but I'm gonna put it in. I like I said, I toss it into the universe. It's all my ideas and dreams are just kind of lingering around, and I know they will come back to me. They always do. So I'd been wanting to go to Uganda for a long time, and I wanted to see the mountain gorillas. And so Jill is like, well, I have a trip for you. How about you go in April, meet my friend Paul? He'll take you on safari. You'll go. I said, well, I see the gorillas. She said, yes. So that's how the
Yeah.
Uganda was born. But then you need friends like Tracey, where it's like you need someone to help you dream bigger than you would normally dream. Like I didn't know how to get to Cuba. I didn't know what we were supposed to do, but it was like and then you got to be willing to say yes. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's you need friends in your life. And that's why if you don't have friends that say yes to adventures, that's why you come to Green Adventures, because now
Yeah.
you've got people who are saying yes all the time. You have a whole community of yes to adventure people. Yes, I want to do
Yeah.
that.
So I'm going to say it now, and then I'm going to say it again later, and then I want to ask you another question. But again, whoever's out there listening, either live right now or listening in the future, throw us your ideas. Where do you want to go? Where are you dreaming about? Or this is why I bring this story up, is because these things come true,
Yeah.
and we see it all the time, Tara. Right?
Yeah.
So give us your dreams as well too.
Yeah,
So
'cause it
now
helps
let's
us.
go. What if we went now? Because I love how it, some of this just seems like it's all on a whim, and these ideas come out of, out of the universe, and a lot of them do,
I'm
right?
trying not.
But a
I'm
lot of
moving
them,
this camera because
yeah,
I feel like I got a crown of the
of the
camera.
tree. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
there we go. Maybe that's even
yeah.
better.
But so the
Go ahead. I
ideas
interrupted
come,
you. Go ahead.
yeah, the ideas come from multiple places, I think, right, as well too. And I think this is why I want to say that, again, you guys, you have ideas out there, bring them to us.
Yeah.
But the ideas happen. Then what, Tara? Because I think this is the other question that people ask us. How does this dream
Yeah.
come to be real?
Mhm. So when it comes to anything that Green Adventures, let's just say how I come up with a tour. First, like Baja, for example, I knew eh, I knew that I love big animals and I wanted to be able to explore the world like a Nat Geo explorer. I didn't know how. I didn't know exactly how to do it. I had been dabbling in like trips in the Bahamas, like I had done those kind of things, but I hadn't like swam with big animals, for example. So I coming to La Paz, that was kind of a an accident. But then while being here, like I discovered more about the place. And then I knew that, I knew everybody had to do this. And then I was thinking, then I looked at it from a perspective of who are our clients, right? We're working with student groups, we're looking with women's travel groups. And then how can we do some of these bucket list items and make them quote unquote accessible to that audience? Because I think some people think, wow, if I'm going to snorkel with sea lions, a wild sea lions, like 500 sea lions in the open ocean. I don't even know how to snorkel. That could be a question. Like I don't even know how to do that. My first question to you would be, can you swim? Because if you could swim, then I could teach you to snorkel. So then we like take these big experiences and then find partners who align with us. So we want people who have a good safety record, who are flexible to what we are looking at as we design the program around our clients, and then also people who are ethical and permitted to be in the locations that we work at so that we're not breaking any laws and we're not doing harm to an environment. And then also guides who care. It's
Mhm.
a priceless ingredient to have people who don't want to show up. Like it's a priceless ingredient for people who care. Because if you've ever been on a day tour, for example, right? You show up at 8, it's maybe your tour is 8 to 4. A lot of times those companies run like a corporate day, right? Their guides show up at 8, they take you out, they're back by 4. I want guides who take advantage of what nature or whatever experiences are available to us. And yeah, maybe we are supposed to have lunch at 12, but if we see like a mountain goat giving birth on the side of a mountain in Alaska, we're going to stop and watch the mountain goat give birth. Like we're not going
Yeah.
to run back to have, a box lunch or something like that, right? So we want guides who know that our clients are here to see amazing things in nature or amazing cultural experiences, and they want our clients to go home having knowing that they did the best they could to give them the very best experience. I tell my guides and partners all the time, we have one chance to get this right. One chance. I don't care if we get to do it 10 more times. For these people, one chance. And we are at the mercy of nature and weather and participants, skills and interests that arrive. But if we do our very best the first time, that's when I know we've done a really great job. And there was one other thing that I was going to add, but it fell in my head. Maybe I'll come back to it in a minute.
Well,
But
and what I didn't want to miss that I wrote down, because you said guides that care.
yeah,
And I just want to like emphasize they care so very much about their homeland, their home, the hometowns, their land, their people, but they care about people. They care about experience.
mm,
Everyone that I've participated and every tour that I've been on, Tara, the guides care so very much as we care about, which is also part of the I would say almost the DNA
mm,
about you, about every single participant that's out there. And I see that everywhere. So it's the care about and the passion and the knowledge and the expertise about their area, but also about people
yeah.
and making sure that we have a great experience. So
Mm.
yeah.
It's getting harder and harder. I don't. I feel like it's getting. And maybe it's just I'm getting older, but like it's getting harder to find people who care.
Mm.
That's it. That's in service. Service, like the service industry, it was should be solution oriented, right? And really customer centered. How do we if you have a question or concern, how do we solve it? Or when we have this product, how we make it centered around you? And I feel like that we're getting people are getting further from that. And I want our guides, anybody, our team, whenever they get a call or a question, they are focused on solving the problem for our clients.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I would add to Tara, I don't know if there's anything else that's coming up to you. I thought that was actually super, super good. And
Okay.
I think there's two things that I might add as well too. I think the cultural experience is always important no matter where we go. How can we not only, land and see, but it's also culture itself
Yeah.
that you bring to each of these tours uniquely. And I think that the thing that I was thinking about is when each of these tours end, we all come back and we talk about the tour and is there any redesign that we need to do? Is there anything that maybe, didn't work as well as we thought, or we didn't get enough time here, or we want to go make sure we have two times to do this or whatever it is. There's always that reinvention possibly after an assessment of every single one of your tours.
Yeah.
Was the experience what you wanted? Could it be even better? Every time.
And the people you're working with, are they receptive to doing changes? That's,
Yeah.
they may say, oh, well, this is what we've done all the time. We're not going to do it. We're not going to make any changes.
Yeah.
And then that's where someone, in my perspective from Green Adventures, that's how we cancel our partnerships.
Yeah.
That's why some trips I might run them once with a local partner, and then like that just didn't work out the way I wanted. We didn't align on our values or how we work together, so then I need to find somebody else. And each destination I go to isn't I always put boots on the ground in the place we go to. That's we always go there's the boots on the ground, and then there's beta trips. So there's beta trips are the first ones. Usually that's if I they're the ones like I usually have like an intrepid group of travelers who are willing to try something out. So that's that. But then a lot of our other tours though are really well established. We've done them for quite a long time. And so we got the boots on the ground. We run them through multiple times and we're constantly making changes. And those trips that, make it past the first one are usually gonna be long, they're gonna have a
Long-standing
long life.
trips. Yeah,
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 a long.
yeah, yeah. I
But
think,
can I just
yeah,
I know we're
please.
getting
Yeah,
close. We're
yeah.
getting close, but one of the things I didn't address, and it's just because we're kind of in this like banter style talk, is Green Adventures was designed initially with an ecotourism philosophy. So ecotourism is not nature tourism. Ecotourism is how can you make a place better or leave it the same for having been at that location. And so when I design my tours, I want to go along with ecotourism philosophies, which is small groups, locally owned and operated, outfitters and guides, local experts, where possible, locally owned and operated hotels. And then also like tourism dollars that could support conservation efforts in the places that we're visiting. So by nature, no pun intended, going to Uganda to see the gorillas, each gorilla viewing permit is $1,000 or $900. And so that money goes to protecting gorillas, but it also goes to these surrounding communities to empower people to protect gorillas. When you go here and you snorkel with the sea lions or the whale sharks or go see the gray whales, that money is going directly into protecting those animals. So I try to find places that are our tourism helps fulfill our bucket list, but also protects places and people and animals in the places that we visit. And
And
education.
so,
We always have a form of education. So how like you're going to learn about the ecology in a place and then how you're connected to that ecology and positive ways you can make a positive difference. That's the
yeah.
overall framework.
I'm glad, and I think it's actually a really good place to probably end. I'm so glad that you brought that in. I would say I would add in even culturally as well too. So
Yeah.
you get both. And I would put the plug out one more time, and I'd love for you to wrap us up, Tara. But again, you can see and hear right the ideas. I mean, we want to do and go to places that are on your dream and bucket list as well. So tell us what's on your dream list, and we'll see what we can do. So Tara, bring us home as
Well,
you head off to your tour.
I do, yes, but I also, real briefly as well, is to say what is on our dream list currently. Like, what are some things
Hmm.
we're working on? And we just launched a sperm whale snorkeling trip in Dominica. There's two spots left on that. But so if you've ever wanted to get face to face with the largest predator on Earth that eats what do they eat? Squid. So, but we could snorkel with them. We have two spots left with Amy Lowe and I in November over Thanksgiving. I One of our adventure buddies contacted me to do a Croatia trip, a port to port, like by boat Croatia trip. So I'm kind of dabbling in that right now. And then also, if you read my email, the last one that went out, I was talking about how our bucket list adventures have started to have higher and higher price tags. And I realize that because the bigger the dream, the more expensive some of these things are getting. And I want to bring it back down to just also bring more, like, I want to invite more of you to come into our world and our community and to see what kind of tours we're leading and trust us, so that you feel comfortable going on those big bucket list trips that require a big financial investment. So we have so these Green Adventures minis are what I'm working on, and they could be day trips that are going to be happening by Green Adventures trip leaders that we have in different parts of the United States. They'll most likely start to come up in Wisconsin and like the northern Illinois area, because that's where a lot of our trip leaders are right now. But maybe Michigan, Cynthia, do you hear that? Maybe you could do that, or maybe Florida, where other trip leaders are. But any of you who are ambassador want to be an ambassador to Green Adventures and you want to do like a day experience, it could be like a local hike or go to get like make pottery, nature journals, yoga. It's just a one-day experience. But then on top of that, I've just helped. I was working with a woman who is a tarot card reader and a psychic medium and a travel agent in Wisconsin. And she and I are partnering on this tour she's created it's in Arizona. You fly to Phoenix and you'll go through Sedona and Antelope Canyon. And it's going to be tying in the vortices of the energy of that area. You'll do some kayaking and hiking and bonding in nature, and that's going to be less than $2,000 for the week. And you're going to get your tarot cards read, and she's a psychic medium, so that's coming out. And then also, I was just meeting last night with my friend who's a travel writer here in La Paz, and we're coming up with like a weekend with a travel writer. So you'll like go to really great like restaurants here that she knows a lot about. She knows everybody here, and do some like kind of like off the beaten path experiences that you feel like a expat living in La Paz. So these are just some fun like social experiences that I'm working on. And if you have any ideas, I'd love to know more. So please
I
do
think
send them our way.
these are going to be so, I think, so good for our audience here too. I mean, there's a price tag that might be different, and and maybe you get to do more with that.
Yeah.
There are also, in some cases, shorter time frames. So if PTO doesn't allow you to take, a longer tour, right? These are the little minis that you can take. So there's a lot of greatness in this as well too. So I'm excited about that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for getting together with me this morning. And I'm sending all this warm sunshine. And and also, I want you to all feel that I'm sending you a lot of good energy. It's bright, like lots of love and calm and like resetting of your nervous system. Because when I came here and I was in the sun, I hear the nature, and I hear right now I can hear like the morning doves. And like looking at the ocean. All of this makes me feel really good. And wherever you are right now, I want you to feel it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.